Report out of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure you check out blackfoxnews.com/shop to actually support the movement, man. Rock with us as we continue to rock out with y'all, man. President Biden set it off again for the second time in the Iraqi-Syria region. You know, they share a border. He ordered U.S. airstrikes on Monday, June 28th, on that morning, at a weapons storage facility. And it was the Pentagon said that Biden did it in response to an attack that was on U.S. troops and personnel from an Iran-backed militia. So shit is getting intense, but you got the coordinating committee of the Iraqi resistance saying that they promised to retaliate. They basically saying we will not remain silent while American troops still occupy the region, which goes against the Constitution, the Parliament vote, and the will of the people. So this happened, remember, recently within the past couple weeks, you actually had the House of Representatives vote to repeal the 2002 authorization for use of military force, which basically, you know, back then gave Bush the power to pretty much do, you know, set it off when he wanted to. So, you know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what happened here. You know what I mean? Second time he hit up that region. We'll see what turns out, man. World War III, Green War graduation. Report out the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So, former Minneapolis police officer Derek Sharpton sent the world into a BLM frenzy when he actually had his knee on the neck of George Floyd, man. Somebody that's standing at like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", or something like that. You know what I mean? Had his knee on his neck while he was handcuffed and killed. You know what I'm saying? Or had his knee on his neck for 9.5 minutes. Well, they smoked his ass. You know what I'm saying? Good for him. 22 and a half. I ain't gonna say they smoked him. He gonna end up, they're saying, doing about 15 of that. You know what I mean? But, you know, even his Floyd's family and his attorney, they feel like it serves some justice, but, you know, it doesn't really take full accountability. You know, you guys, Brother Rodney Floyd talking about he's doing 22 years and we're serving a life sentence not having our brother here. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's real like that. That's a big presence in somebody, like, whether he was getting to the cream or not, you know what I mean? But, you know, that's unfortunate. You got the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, basically leads the UN Human Rights Agency, Michelle Bachelet. She actually said that she's calling on North America, Europe, Latin America to basically deal with racism as they had actually released a report. And the report showed how there was systemic racism in these continents against people of African descent. Green War graduation. This report out of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So you got the World Health Organization actually urging everybody in the world, because that's what they do in regarding health, to maintain wearing masks and social distancing even if you've been fully vaccinated. Now, damn, you know what I'm saying? They're talking about doing this because the Delta variant is spreading crazily around the world. You got Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who heads the World Health Organization, saying that it's actually in 85 countries around the world. That's, you know what I'm saying, approaching half the world. So it's spreading rapidly in unvaccinated areas is also what he said. But, you know, the reality is over in Israel, they redid a mask mandate, indoor mask mandate, after there was a rise in the Delta variant. And they found the numbers saying that like half of the people that actually caught it in the recent surge had been fully vaccinated. Now over in India, they dealing with a whole nother variant that they call in the Delta Plus. So, you know what I mean, this COVID shit is real. And that go for you dickheads that actually thought that just because you was vaccinated that you was good for life. Like, that's it. Like, you don't have to wear masks no more and all of that. And that's why you did it. Now look at you. Still gotta abide by the rules. So was it worth it? We shall see how yourselves in the future will be. Green War graduation. Report out of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Over 150 people missing after this high-rise apartment in Surfside, Florida, actually collapsed. Now, this is about like 10, 12 stories tall, and a 2018 inspection actually found that the building had abundant cracking and spalling. Basically, the shit looked weak as hell, and engineers were talking about like design flaws and insufficient waterproofing of the building. So the shit, they warned them about it. However, a Surfside official still told residents 1 month after the inspection that the building was in quote unquote very good shape. So that lets you know what time they on. That's fucked up. Somebody's going to fucking jail, and definitely should. And you also got them putting the money up to do something about, finding these people. They're gonna have to dig these bodies out. Over 150 people missing. It started off with 9 being known to be dead. The number keeps climbing. I love they talk. Green Wall Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So the Justice Department did it. They actually filed a lawsuit against the state of Georgia for those voting laws that they actually passed back in March. They passed these crazy new voter ID requirements. I won't call those crazy, but just crazy laws in general. It was like new voter ID requirements. It was they took away a bunch of ballot drop boxes, shortened the window for absentee ballots, and they actually gave the state power to intervene in the votes in the elections in Democratic counties. So you have this lawsuit basically saying that this is actually discriminating against black voters. So Kristen Clark, the Assistant Attorney General for the Justice Department, spoke on it, basically saying that these legislative acts happened at a time when a bunch of black people were actually moving to the state of Georgia, and they actually saw record turnout across the state, particularly from absentee ballots, which black people are more likely to do now than white people. Green Wall and Graduation. Streets reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So you actually have Johnson & Johnson settling with the state of New York for 230 M's. You know what I'm saying? 230 million dollars for fueling the opioid crisis. Letitia James, the Attorney General for New York, she also announced that as part of the settlement, J&J can't manufacture or sell opioids in the United States anymore, and that the money from the settlement is going to go towards prevention, treatment, and education efforts throughout the whole state. You know what I mean? Basically, that trying to suppress the opioid crisis. Where the fuck was all that for the crack epidemic, by the way? You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, this is Johnson & Johnson. You know what I mean? They trying to put vaccines in your body, yo. And they actually do, as a part of the settlement, get to escape this other trial that they had around the corner from in Long Island, New York, last week. But this is not their first settlement either for fueling the opioid crisis. How does a company that can't even sell shit in the United States, banned from selling any sort of object, allowed to then put up vaccines for people to use? You know what I'm saying? Shame on Trump for bigging them up during them debates. I remember that shit. Green Wall and Graduation. For the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. Hope you can see me, but definitely gotta hear me. I've been telling y'all what's been going on in Ethiopia and how they've been warring with a region within the country known as Tigray. You know what I'm saying? Northern Ethiopia. And this actually has been going down since November, when Ethiopia tried to launch an offensive basically against the area. And pretty much you had the local militia and government warring with the federal militia and government. And the rebel forces that are now in Tigray, you're talking about Tigray's, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, actually got victory when they backed these niggas down, basically forced the Ethiopian military out of the capital of Tigray, Mekelle. So this actually is a win for them, and they're dismissing the Ethiopian government's unilateral declaration of the ceasefire. They basically saying fuck that. They got the airports on lock, other key secure areas on lock, and they saying they just gonna keep the troops gonna keep driving Ethiopian forces out of the area. So this has been a conflict that's actually caused a lot of people to like move or be displaced. You know what I'm saying? Nearly 1 million since the shit jumped off in November. And also the United Nations is saying that the war has driven nearly 350,000 people to the point of famine. You know what I'm saying? Like that's some crazy starvation. So Green Wall and Graduation though. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So on Monday, June 28th, you actually had U.S. military base in eastern Syria near this major oil field that actually got attacked. Now, this is a day after Biden had actually sent those missiles over at these weapon stations in on the border of Iraq and Syria, targeting this militia basically that's backed by Iran that had attacked them previously, or so the Pentagon, Biden say. So with that attack happening on this U.S. military base, in response, the U.S. had fired artillery at like nearby rocket launching positions. So you have this happening, and you know, President Biden's out here defending his decision to actually launch those attacks, saying that he did it, why he did it in response to attacks that was done by a militia backed by Iran, and he has the authority to do that under Article 2. And even the Republicans who are reluctant to acknowledge that have acknowledged that. So, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of criticism coming at him for launching those airstrikes. Iraq's prime minister basically said that's a major violation. You know what I'm saying? It's a violation of Iraqi sovereignty, and it's a violation of Iraqi national security. So, you know what I mean? They struck back. It looked like it ain't gonna stop. We'll see how this turn out. Green War and graduation though. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Good news if you have Facebook stock. You know what I'm saying? I know I had Facebook stock early, like when they was thinking it was going to fall after the initial public offering, you know, when they first put the stocks out, whatever, and then that shit jumped. You know what I'm saying? Made some cash, but should have made a lot more, but that's another story. But now you're definitely going to make cash if you bought it while Facebook was falling, because a federal judge, U.S. District Court Judge Jeb Boasberg, who actually was put in the position by George W. Bush, you know what I'm saying? Remember him, 9/11, all that shit going on. Nevertheless, he ruled and threw out 2 antitrust laws that actually came against Facebook that was trying to force it to divest from WhatsApp and Instagram. And basically said for the one antitrust lawsuit that was brought by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, basically said that they didn't come with enough evidence, you know what I'm saying, and gave them 30 days to actually appeal. Then you have the other lawsuit that was brought by 46 attorney generals throughout the United States. That's the top of every state or whatever, brought this suit against them, and they basically said that they missed the deadline. They didn't bring all of their claims in time. So Facebook stock jumped through the roof, you know what I'm saying? And Mark Zuckerberg's estimated wealth, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, actually jumped to 128 billion. You know what I'm saying? That's 128 B's, bro. Like that shit crazy. And for the first time, Facebook's market capitalization, which is basically the combined cost of all the stocks that it has available, whatever, that shit jumped over $1 trillion. Over $1 trillion. All of the stocks of Facebook are now worth. Green War and graduation. News reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Make sure you check out blackfoxnews.com/opportunities, because there might be an opportunity for you, internships, advertising. You know what I'm saying? So get at a look, you know what I'm saying, and rock with us as we continue to rock out with y'all. We building an economy, a community here. Now check this out. Juul Labs, the maker of the e-cigarettes, they actually agreed to pay a $40 million settlement to the state of North Carolina, who actually brought a lawsuit against them for their marketing techniques causing widespread nicotine addiction among teenagers. So this comes while there's like 13 other states and DC actually trying to bring similar lawsuits against the company, and the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, they actually considering whether the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So last Monday, on June 28th, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that they will not, or they actually announced that they're not going to hear the case of Gavin Grimm. This was a woman who used to be who turned into a man, transgender, who was a high school student and sued his local school district over forcing him to use a separate single-stall bathroom that no other student uses. So the Supreme Court basically said that they're not gonna hear the case, and that allows for the lower court standing to hold, which basically says that policies segregating trans students from their peers is unconstitutional. So, you know, let me know what y'all think of that. Meanwhile, you got a state like California, they're actually restricting state-funded travel to 17 states, including like Arkansas, Florida, Montana, states that actually have implemented policies that are considered anti-LGBTQ, especially with like these recent policies keeping trans athletes in high school from playing with the genders in high school that they assign to or that they affirm to. So, you know, it's a lot of sticky stuff going on with you know, these rules. We'll see what comes of this though. Like, it may not be all the way right or wrong in any which direction, but it's definitely, I think, pointing us towards the right direction. We just need some more dialogue on this shit, in my opinion. See what comes of it though. Green War and graduation. Report out of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So last week you actually had the Mexican Supreme Court ruling and officially decriminalizing the use of marijuana for adults. So this comes after Mexican Congress actually failed to put up and fully enact any legislation that would have legalized the recreational use of marijuana by April, which was the deadline that was given to them by said Supreme Court. So a lot of people celebrate this, but at the same time, many experts say that there's still some loopholes that will allow for someone to be criminalized for cultivating or from distributing marijuana. So we'll see what comes of this. But mind you, efforts like this are designed to like mitigate the amount of bodies that's piling up from this drug war that's been going on ever since '06. The Mexican drug war has led to the death of over 300,000 people. Green War and graduation. What out of the world though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So after actually winning gold back in 2019 at the Pan American Games and then raising her fist up while they played the Star Spangled Banner, Gwen Berry is facing a whole bunch of other racist backlash now because at the Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon last Saturday, she actually, you know, was doing, this is an Olympic hammer thrower. She placed like third, and you know, they were doing the medal ceremony. And they played the national anthem then, and she turned her back away from where everybody else was facing to, you know, pay reverence to the U.S. flag and all of that shit. So, you know, she kind of just stood there. She ended up, she turned away. She ended up putting a shirt over her head that actually said activist athlete on it. And, you know, that's what she subscribes to. But in an interview with Newz One, or Newz One has a quote that's saying that she felt like they did it on purpose because they're not even supposed to play the national anthem during the time when she was actually up there. So she was more frustrated than, she was more upset than anything. But she very much is an activist athlete. So shout out to Gwen Berry. Green War and graduation. This report out of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So last Tuesday on June 29th, you had a bunch of protests erupting in occupied East Jerusalem as Israeli forces had basically came down to this Palestinian neighborhood of Silwan, went into the Al Bustan area, in the section of the area, and just straight bulldozed this local business. It was a butcher shop, and they were saying the butcher didn't have a proper shop permit. So it was a bunch of protests against that, whatever, because keep in mind, you had one of the Silwani residents saying that the building had just got constructed 2 months ago, cost 300,000 shekels, you know what I'm saying? That's long bread. And there was still merchandise in it. And so you had Israeli forces shooting tear gas, using batons, beating at protesters. At least 13 of them were said to be injured. At the moment, there are like 15 Bustan families that are at risk of being dispossessed because Israeli forces is basically telling them they need to destroy their own homes or they're gonna have to pay for the demolition costs. Now, if that ain't no Bogarting, extortion type, strong-arming, bullying shit, I don't know what it is. But you have the Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations that said to the UN that Israel had demolished 72 homes in the past 3 months, displacing 78 Palestinians. And right now, the UN estimates that there are 100,000 Palestinians that are at risk of being displaced, meaning forced to move against their will. Green War and graduation. Report out of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report, man. Weird shit going on in Afghanistan, if you ask me. But you actually have, we might be days away from the United States military withdrawing all of their troops from the country of Afghanistan, ahead of the September 11th deadline that Joe Biden had actually set for the action. So there's still going to be hundreds of U.S. troops still remaining in the country, as you know, you probably could have expected. You know, they're going to be securing the U.S. Embassy and the airport in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, and all of that. But it's odd timing because Taliban is actually, which the U.S. has tried to at least front it like they're trying to broker peace deals between the Afghan government and the Taliban. Taliban been taking over, straight up taking over areas, like securing it to where they run that shit. So, and you have U.S. military officials and experts expecting them to head towards a civil war. So, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you do have the United States House of Representatives voting to expedite visas for Afghan people who actually assisted the United States military. You know, last week or the week prior, you actually had a bunch of military interpreters in Afghanistan protesting outside of the U.S. Embassy, basically calling for that. So the House of Reps came through. We'll see what the Senate does regarding that. But they trying to get the fuck up out of here and worry about their safety and actually living, you know, while they're over there and literally on an everyday basis in fear of being murdered. So Green Wall and Graduation. Streets reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. Little foreign policy drama. I'm gonna let y'all know what's happening, you know what I'm saying, over in the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. We actually had Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid, you know, somebody who actually is in a power sharing agreement with Israel's parliament and the prime minister seat and all of that, whatever. Well, Yair Lapid actually went out to the United Arab Emirates. The first time an Israeli cabinet member has actually been in this country since they normalized relations last year. You know, it's not common that the Israelis is cool with the Arabs, but the United States had spent some time under Trump brokering this type of relationship. So here you have it. And Lapid actually went there last Tuesday, June 29th, to actually open the Israeli embassy. And on Wednesday, June 30th, they opened the Dubai Israeli consulate. So, you know, Israel's trying to expand. Why are they pouncing on these Palestinians? They must have a trick up their sleeve. Green Wall and Graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report, man. Make sure you check out blackfilesnews.com/shop. If you actually want to support the movement, you looking for a way, man, how can I do it? You can always go to the homepage. You know what I mean? You can donate, you can buy other things. We got music, we got DVDs, etc. But definitely go check out Shop. That'll actually allow you to get paraphernalia with our logos and our sayings on it. You know what I'm saying? Raise the consciousness level up of yourself when you look in the mirror and of those around you that's looking at you shining like a star, man. Rock with us as we continue to rock out with y'all. Now, on to this news. Jacob Zuma, former president of South Africa, they got his ass. They sentenced him to 15 months in prison for his contempt of court. He didn't appear to court for a corruption inquiry. This is somebody that, as president, he was essentially forced to resign back in 2018 due to a corruption scandal, and he's being basically accused and probed for helping a prominent family in South Africa obtain state contracts and influence government policy. Green Wall and Graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. A little COVID-19 update for you. SARS-CoV-2, coronavirus disease 2019 at Rona. And make sure you check out BFN World Broadcast number 17, aka Rona. And you know what I mean? Not only is it some fire shit from the editor-in-chief himself rapping about the facts about Rona in that time period, but it also reminds you about the origins of all of this shit. And we gotta stay in touch with the origins before the narrative becomes something that doesn't really represent what's really going on. You know what I mean? Everybody stay woke. Make sure you check that out. But going on to the news though, you have the Red Cross saying that Indonesia is actually at the edge of catastrophe because they're getting so many COVID cases that they don't even know what to do with. They can't handle the influx. You had this one nurse in Jakarta, Indonesia, saying that a lot of these cases are dead on arrival. Motherfuckers is coming there and can't even get into a hospital bed. They gotta wait. So they coming in there sick, about to die, and they gotta wait for a bed to open and dying like that. So, you know, it's the Delta variant that's taking over the globe right now. Over in Brazil, it was, you know, their death toll to COVID-19 is at 516,000, and they actually found that their life expectancy had dropped by 1.3 years for 2020 due to how many people actually died from COVID. So over here in the U.S., you got over in L.A., in Los Angeles County, they're urging their residents to maintain wearing masks indoors, even if they've been fully vaccinated. So, you know what I mean? That should be a rude awakening for you motherfuckers that got vaccinated, thinking, oh, I'll be back to regular life. Nah. You know what I'm saying? Over in Minnesota, I've been telling y'all about the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline that motherfuckers is building. And a lot of residents and indigenous people have been protesting against it because not only is it a threat to the environment around there, you know, as far as the pollution, you got these random waste, it spills and all of that, but also they didn't want COVID to spread. Well, now you got Al Jazeera reporting that since they started working on it in December, 800 workers have actually contracted COVID-19 up there in Minnesota. So it goes exactly against what the indigenous people up there wanted to happen. And also, you have researchers on the flip side saying that the Pfizer and Moderna mRNA vaccines actually may provide resistance to COVID-19 for years, but you still may need to take booster shots, especially with this Delta variant going around. And the CDC has apparently reissued or been allowed to have its moratorium on evictions upheld due to COVID-19. So, you know, that's going to go until July. So what does that mean? That basically means up until July, you actually will have a break on evictions. Greenwald graduation. Order of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. I'm going to share this story just so y'all know how deep this money shit and this politics shit can actually get in the United States and how interconnected a lot of the shit is. So you better watch where you can take your dollars. So the New York Times actually put this story out, this expose, if you will, it's exposure shit for sure, that basically showed that right-wing groups had actually tried to infiltrate Democratic affiliated groups throughout the West in the US during the 2020 election cycle in order to manipulate politics and change the US electoral map, and also to try to get dirt on Republican opponents. Like, so that basically shows that a former British spy who was actually connected with Eric Prince, from the, you know, we call him a mercenary, but he headed the Blackwater mercenary group, was putting bodies over there in the Middle East during the 2000s, and were actually, you know, they're not U.S. military, but they're kind of like, you know, hired kills, and they basically got accused of a lot of indiscriminate murders and unnecessary carnage. And Eric Prince is a part of that. Eric Prince is also somebody who's related to former Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. So this British spy is actually connected with Eric Prince, so there's definitely some connection there because there's somebody that's cool with Trump. This British spy actually was recruiting people who used to be part of Project Veritas. This is conservative, right-wing group, whatever, and that tries to do, I guess, what they consider is good investigative reporting. But they recruited these people and had them then get into these Democratic groups throughout the West to try to gain information against people and groups that were considered enemies of Trump and the Trump organization. So the biggest funder of this effort was Susan Gore. Who the fuck is that? Susan Gore is the heiress to the Gore-Tex fortune. You know how somebody could be an heir to a throne? Well, she's the heiress to the Gore-Tex fortune. Shit, you might got some Gores on right now. I mean, I know in my hood the past couple decades, you know, a lot of people done wore Gores before, like Gore-Tex. So this is your money for them boots that you might have had or have on your feet went towards efforts like this that might have even worked towards political efforts that might take away from you. You know what I'm saying? So everybody stay focused. Also, those operatives that were infiltrating these organizations also targeted Wyoming Republican Mayor Mark Gordon, who a lot of people on the Trump side felt like was a little too moderate for them. You know what I'm saying? But Greenwald graduation, though. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. A Supreme Court hearing in the United States last week that actually may have dire effects on the immigration community in the U.S., but we're hearing a case about asylum seekers, some immigrants trying to, find access into the United States and be here legally and all of that. They actually were apprehended in the United States after having previously been deported. Now, a lot of times these people is escaping death, torture, persecution. They escaping heavy shit. You know what I mean? And poverty too. But the Supreme Court then ruled 6-3 that anybody who's been deported by the United States, that's caught, any asylum seeker that's been deported by the U.S. and gets caught trying to re-enter the U.S. can be detained indefinitely. So they'll have to, while they await their hearing or for the case to get resolved, they can't see a judge or have a bond hearing. So, and this is coming as BuzzFeed News actually put out that the number of asylum seekers that are in prison in the U.S. is damn near doubled under Biden, from it being 14,000 earlier this year to, 27,000 at the end of last month. Green War and graduation. Or end of this month, that is Green War and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So I've been telling y'all about these heat waves that's actually going on, especially in the Pacific Northwest. You know what I'm saying? The United States and in Canada. Well, in Canada and British Columbia is saying that they think they've seen dozens of actual deaths due to the heat waves over the past few days. They have it to where between Friday on June 25th and Wednesday, June 30th, there were over 230 deaths in the region, and that's 100 more deaths than would be expected to be normally seen in that region. So the death toll is definitely increasing, and it's looking like Streets Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report, man. I had to get to some light. Make sure y'all can see me. Hopefully y'all can see me, but most importantly, y'all need to hear me. This CFO for the Trump organization, Alan Weaselberg, Chief Financial Officer, he actually surrendered himself to the Manhattan DA's office for charges of grand larceny for avoiding taxes on $1.7 million in perks that he got from the company that he did not report as income. Now, the Wall Street Journal talks about these perks being things like cars, apartments, private school tuition. It's like, it's going to be hard to dodge that, buddy. Like, this is stuff that you would spend your income on. So that happened. On the same day, you have Manhattan DA Cy Vance actually filing criminal charges against the Trump organization for a 15-year tax fraud scheme. Now you got Alan Futerfas, who's like the lawyer for these guys, saying, in 244 years, we haven't had a local prosecutor go after a former president or his employees or his company. That is just a significant line to cross. It's like, come on, dude, Donald Trump crossed plenty of significant lines. And we've never even had a president in 240 years, a president that actually held on to his companies and all of that, whatever. So it's like he opened himself up to that. Keep in mind, this is all a domino effect from him getting caught using that campaign finance money to shut up that porn star. Let's keep it a stat. So you have Weaselberg, he's actually, Weisselberg, pardon me, actually pleaded not guilty. But if he's convicted, he could face up to 10 years. Now, this is somebody that's been working for the Trump organization for 50 years. And, a lot of people will look at it and they feel like they're trying to get at him so they could get at Trump. You know what I mean? They already got all these probes going up into the Trump and the Trump organization. So this will open up a lot of floodgates if motherfuckers start singing. Green War and graduation. Support of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report, man. The country went into a frenzy when they let Bill Cosby out of jail, didn't they? You know what I mean? Black Twitter, black TikTok, black Facebook, everybody going crazy, even the non-blacks, you know what I'm saying? All the women's rights activists on his top, because he got out of prison from a 3 to 10 year sentence for essentially trying to date rape Andrea Constant, a former athletic director at Temple University. Had her on the couch and, gave her Benadryls and, you know what I'm saying, ended up having sex with her that he says was consensual. And it's crazy because she's one of 60 women that accused him of some type of like misconduct during the Me Too era or whatever. So in 2018, it's one of the first prominent people in that era to actually go down for the shit. So he gets out though on Wednesday, July 1st on a technicality, on June 30th, on the technicality that they used evidence that was taken from a cross-examination that he had with another prosecutor that was supposed to be like it was a non-prosecution agreement, so he wasn't supposed to get charged with it. And this is the cross-examination that he actually admits to like having used Quaaludes, but he suggests they a party drug and all of that. He also goes over how he was trying to get Andrea Constant, speak with her and pay her off and all of that. So people took that info and and have been running with it. And she's still, Andrea Constant, she's done her public interviews, she has her side of the story and he has his, but he went down for that. But so this is a lot of people choosing sides, and a lot of people celebrated it. A lot of people are just completely against it. Of course, Gloria Allred, who represents 33 women who actually filed a sexual assault charge against, or claimed sexual assault allegations against Bill Cosby. Of course, she's like, this is just an indictment on technicality. This does not mean that he hasn't done what he's accused of doing. And on the flip side, you got like Felicia Rashad, his TV wife from the Cosby Show, current and new dean of cultural arts at Howard University. She puts out a tweet basically in support of it, suggesting he an innocent man and all of that, and that that's justice and all of that. So people was on her top, especially at Howard University. A lot of women, a lot of black people were disappointed, but to me it just seemed like a real touchy subject. People need to fall back on picking sides, though. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit like they look murky. Green Wall graduation. What other the world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So I've been telling y'all how these heat waves been hitting the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, we'll say. You're talking about a little bit of Canada, a little bit of United States, where you actually had heat waves been going on these last few weeks. Well, people were scared that, this past week, there's been hundreds of people that have actually died because it's been so hot. In British Columbia and Canada, they reported 300 more deaths than they would typically see around that time of the year, based on what happened the year before, the years prior and all of that. So they're scared of that, A lot of people going into the hospital, falling out and all of that. You got over in Oregon, in the U.S., of course, you have 63 people have said to have died from the heat, according to authorities. Over in Washington State, they're saying that it's dozens over there that said to have died from the heat. So it's like, it's looking real serious. And over in Lytton, which is a village in British Columbia in Canada, they had a wildfire that just went through the whole town. Burnt the shit up. You had the mayor going on the television to CBC News saying the whole town is on fire. And this is after they actually reported a temperature of 121 degrees Fahrenheit. They had the highest temperature in Canada all time for 3 straight days last week. Green Wall graduation. This report of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report, man. Yo, shout out to Greenpeace. This is a climate activist group, and they did some ill shit, man. They actually tricked lobbyists for ExxonMobil. Yeah, lobbyists being, those people that go into the government buildings and where the lawmakers are and try to influence the law, essentially, on behalf of somebody. So this is a lobbyist for ExxonMobil, and Keith McCoy, black dude too, dang, had to be him, but he thinks he's talking to a headhunter, like a corporate headhunter, somebody who's gonna get him a job, and he ends up speaking about the company all openly. Whole time is people from Greenpeace, and he's talking about how, did we fight against some of the science early on? Yes. Did we hide any of our science? Absolutely not. Did we join some of these dark groups to fight against it early on? Yes, we did. But there's nothing illegal about that. There's
Nothing. We were just looking out for our shareholders. We were looking out for our investments. Like, you know what I'm saying? And also even admitted to the fact that ExxonMobil's support for the carbon tax is some bullshit, basically, because they know it's just like, you know, so it's just to look like they're in support of climate change, but they know the carbon tax is never going to be implemented, apparently. Even let out a list of 11 U.S. senators that actually are like crucial to the lobbying efforts of ExxonMobil. And on that list is Democrat for West Virginia, Joe Manchin. You know, he made news recently, definitely in my headlines, for being one of 2 Democrats that were against the For the People Act. How you not gonna be for the people? But I digress. Green Wall and graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, let y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report, man. Funny shit happening on the right wing of the government. What's up with y'all? You got Christina Wim, who's actually the governor for South Dakota. You know, this is in the northern hemisphere of the United States, actually deploying 50 National Guard members to the U.S.-Mexico border at the request of Texas Governor Greg Abbott, right? All right, you know, whatever. I mean, that's still a long trip, but okay. Why are you doing this? But here's the crazy part. This is happening because this is getting funded by Republican billionaire mega donor Willis Johnson, who lives in Tennessee. So it's like the crazy. I just don't even have words for it. It's like people talking about how they turning this into like a private mercenary group, basically. Like, this is hired help. Like, what the fuck is y'all doing? You can't turn the National Guard into hired help. Like, shit. This reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So the Financial Times actually put out there that the United States and Japan have actually secretly been having war games and joint secret military exercises in the South China Sea. What the fuck is that? You talking about, like, basically them practicing war and practicing for war with China, and doing so because they're prepared for a conflict over Taiwan. You know what I mean? There's a sovereignty issue over there with Taiwan, Japan, China. So then apparently the joint military exercises and the war games and all of that, they was disguising it as disaster relief training. So, you know, be ready, prepare for that funk. Green Wall and graduation. This reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report, man. Sad situation in the history of the white plight in North America, because another 182 unmarked graves were actually found at a former Catholic-run boarding school in British Columbia that was used basically to house First Nations children. First Nations being the indigenous group in that area, where they were basically forcing the indigenous children to go to these schools so they could get them out of their culture and away from their languages. So this is like obviously traumatic, you know what I mean? This is like, you know, transatlantic slavery type trauma, obviously, where the schooling was so harsh that you have hundreds of unmarked graves still being discovered to this day from that shit. And this is like the third major discovery in recent weeks, and this is something that the Pope, I guess, like now the Pope Francis, he's finally agreed to actually meet with indigenous survivors of that situation. And, you know, he was coming under a lot of heat because he refused to apologize for this shit on behalf of the Catholic Church for what is considered a cultural genocide, which is even what Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission actually deemed it as. So, Green Wall graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report, man. This is you know, some of these news stories, man, you just gotta hear them to believe them. You got Israeli newspaper Ynet saying that the Palestinian Authority, you know, this is basically the government and the police force, I guess you could say, for Palestine, essentially, which is, you know, scattered or whatever, and areas being fought between Israel. You know, it's part of the conflict between Israel and Palestinians. You got the Palestinian Authority, though, requesting tear gas, stun grenades, and other non-lethal weapons from Israel. Like, what the fuck? They're doing this because they're actually trying to stop, like, these protests and dissent and thing and calm shit down in the occupied West Bank because a human rights activist, Nizar Banat, actually died in Palestinian Authority custody. So they're trying to get things under wraps, and they're just like, shit, well, Israel seems to do it well, so why not ask them for help? Green War on graduation, though. It's a bad joke, but shit. Dang. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So you have a treat for the LGBTQ community last week given by the U.S. State Department on Wednesday, June 30th. You had, that's the last day of Pride Month, by the way. They announced that gender non-conforming applicants for passports will no longer have to, they'll be allowed to use an X in the male-female section of their passport instead of having to choose a gender. They also announced that they'll drop the requirement for transgenders applicants to actually have medical certification showing that they actually had a change made to be transgender. So now you could just sign up. All I'm gonna say is just, you know, X marks the spot. So hopefully they ain't trying to line y'all niggas up. You know what I mean? So, you know, keep your head on the swivel, stay woke. Green War on graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady let y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report, man. That holdout, that fight, that actually did it. You know what I'm saying? When you actually are out here standing for something and you facing adversity, you better stand on your square. You know what I mean? It'll be worth it in the end. Because proof of this is Nicole Hannah-Jones, incoming journalism professor at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, actually had the Board of Trustees vote to grant her tenure after they initially denied her tenure because a big donor to the school had brought up inquiries and questions and concerns and basically politically was trying to get them to not support her for her 1619 project. Now that's a project that she did. It's an interactive project that she did with the New York Times that actually like re-examines the legacy of slavery, you could say. So, you know, it's brought in, you know, the idea of critical race theory back into the spectrum, and you know, this whole talk from the right wing that people they're trying to teach people to hate America. It's like, it ain't about teaching people to hate America, but it's just about acknowledging what America did. If that makes you hate yourself, then that's something you need to re-examine. But, you know, shout out to Professor Nicole Hannah-Jones, now has tenure after a huge uproar and support from people that actually, you know, was real out here and representing, so, and got it done, you know what I mean? Green War on graduation. This report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So, you actually had the U.S. Supreme Court. This is a majority conservative Supreme Court, by the way, but, you know what I mean, mostly the court justices in there are right-leaning, pardon me. They actually voted on July 1st 6-3 last Thursday on a ruling that actually upholds these two laws that were passed in Arizona that are said to be racially discriminatory, these in regards to voter suppression. So they pretty much gutted the rest of the voting rights bill of 1965, you know what I'm saying, that you could say MLK, you know, rode out for and died for, you know what I'm saying, the civil rights movement ever had actually pushed for, you know what I'm saying. A lot of protests and blood, sweat, and tears went into that shit. And, you know, the Supreme Court had already gutted it out back in 2013, most of it, but, you know, now it's official. It's going to make it harder for any challenge to go successfully against these new Republican voter suppression laws around the country, so they say. So we'll see what happens, though. Green War on graduation. This report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So the U.S. Supreme Court was on a roll last Thursday. They actually struck down a law in California that requires nonprofit organizations to reveal their large, like, big donors of, you know what I mean, basically. So this actually is said to provide a loophole for like campaign finance and allow for campaign finance disclosure issues and challenges, and, you know, will allow for like dark money to basically funnel into these elections. So the case was brought by Americans for Prosperity Foundation, which was actually founded by the Koch brothers. If you don't know who the Koch brothers is, they own plastics and shit like that. Their money's stupid long. Like I'm talking like at one point they was making like $2 billion an hour. So, and a lot of this is a right-wing organization that the APF that is. So, and the conservative is leaning right wing. Hell, they might have one of them motherfuckers in the one of them motherfucking justices in the pocket. Green War graduation though. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So you actually have the World Health Organization on Thursday, July 1st, actually announcing that the African continent is facing a crazy third wave of COVID-19 infections. You got a dozen nations actually experiencing their highest rates of death and infection since the start of the pandemic. 650,000 new infections since May 3rd. So, and you're talking about a place that actually is has like 2% of the population vaccinated and low testing. So people feel like the numbers are probably higher than that. But you have in South Africa, Johannesburg, you got the healthcare workers saying the hospital's about to collapse because what other New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So we actually have the World Health Organization saying on Thursday, July 1st, that Africa is experiencing a third wave of the coronavirus where it's hitting them hard. You got a dozen African nations reporting their highest death rates and infection rates since the start of the pandemic. And since May 3rd, there have been 650,000 new infections, across the continent. And that's keeping in mind that they have low testing throughout the continent and only 2% of Africa's population has been vaccinated. So people feel like the numbers are a lot higher. Over in South Africa, in Johannesburg specifically, you got the hospitals that are talking about they're experiencing a catastrophe, and a lot of the spread is coming from the Delta variant. Now, I told y'all how about Cuba, they actually dropped their Abdala vaccine that is said to be 92% effective against combating COVID-19, and it's actually been used in Venezuela. They're actually administering it now in Venezuela. The Biden administration refused to give vaccines, even though they're trying to give them out to everybody, refusing to give it to Venezuela. And over in Venezuela, they're accusing the U.S. for their sanctions for, hurting them badly throughout this pandemic. So we'll see how this turns out. Green War graduation. What other New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Man, the world is getting hot, and it's showing, especially in Canada, where they having wildfires and heat waves all throughout the country, especially between British Columbia and Ontario, Canada. Meteorologists had actually logged between Wednesday and Thursday last week 700,000 lightning strikes, which were driven by cumulonimbus clouds, which basically are clouds that would cause lightning strikes that will cause fires. So there was fires being set. It's causing wildfires throughout certain towns, especially in Lytton, British Columbia, which last Tuesday they had logged a record high temperature of 121 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the highest temperature ever recorded in Canada all time. So you got other nations like in Greece, in the famous city of Acropolis, they actually shut it down to tourists because they have a heat wave over there that recorded temperatures up to 110 degrees. Then over in Russia, you have a heat wave hitting Siberia. This is a Siberian village. It's considered Earth's coldest inhabited place on Earth. And they're seeing temperatures at 89 degrees Fahrenheit. And mind you, in Siberia, this is ice. This is an icy place. You have the temperatures that are melting permafrost by huge amounts and sending huge amounts of methane into the air, which is a crazy greenhouse gas. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody stay woke. Green War on graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland actually has ordered a halt for the Justice Department on all federal executions while they conduct a review on its practices and policies regarding capital punishment. He actually put out a memo this past Thursday, July 1st, that actually cited they want to review it because of the arbitrariness of its application, the disparate impact on people of color, and the troubling number of exonerations in dealing with
in dealing with capital punishment and other serious cases. So they're also going to review the drugs that are being used for lethal injection to actually put to death convicted prisoners. So the Justice Department, however, has not changed its position on what they're going to do with the Boston Marathon bomber, the Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. This is actually somebody that they want to remain on death row. Keep in mind, last year, 2020, the government federally executed 13 people, straight killing spree, after then Attorney General William Barr revived the federal executions and conducted one for the first time since '03. Green War on Graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So over in Afghanistan, I guess Biden is actually moving out with removing troops from Afghanistan because they completely left the Bagram airfield. This was actually a key center command place in Afghanistan for the U.S. during what is considered to be America's longest war. I mean, this is after 20 years of being at Bagram airfield. U.S. troops got up out of there. Now, an official for Afghanistan's government said that the U.S. didn't coordinate their exit with Afghanistan. Therefore, it resulted in a period of looting between when the troops actually left and when Afghan troops actually came to take over the base. So I wonder who was actually nabbing up all of that stuff. If you remember, not a few years ago, there was $1 million in U.S. weaponry that was left and not taken care of, and then it ended up with ISIS. So, you know what I'm saying? I wonder if it's one of them games going down. But you got that going on in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the Taliban has actually taken control over dozens of areas. So, and the Taliban been beefing with the Afghanistan government. So, you know, it is expected that 650 U.S. troops will be there to secure the U.S. embassy out there. We'll see what comes of this. Green War on Graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. Now, some of y'all know that slavery is still alive and well throughout the globe. You know what I'm saying? Throughout planet Earth. And there needs to be something done about it. In this case, it seems like Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast tried to do something about it, where a prosecutor for Ivory Coast basically ended up sentencing 10 nationals of Burkina Faso, the African country, to 10 years in prison for their role in basically trafficking at least 40 children between the ages of 10 and 17 and forcing them to work on cocoa plants. The cocoa plant is what's used to make chocolate and all of that. So this is a big deal. However, multinational corporations, you know, your companies that end up doing business in their home country as well as multiple other countries or whatever, they continue to be like protected from imprisonment or accountability when it comes to these slave labor charges. I mean, you had Nestle and Cargill actually beat a case in the U.S. Supreme Court last month where they dismissed the lawsuit because it took place overseas. However, the lawsuit was brought by 6 men from Mali who were trafficked to Ivory Coast as children to work on these cocoa plants to help Nestle and Cargill. So, yeah, I mean, that's to put it all in perspective for y'all. A lot of people look at Africa. Look, Africa, they still over there enslaving themselves. Well, who's really responsible then? Green War on Graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So the NFL, the National Football League, actually issued a $10 million fine against the Washington football team, formerly known as the Washington Redskins. Now, if you follow the NFL at all, you know 10 mil, that's really not a lot of money, but this fine was actually for sexual assault after they launched a probe, an investigation into widespread sexual harassment allegations taking place in the organization, perpetuated by the team's managers and executives. So this ain't got nothing to do with the players. However, this is something that dates back to 2003 with some of these accusations. A bunch of them coming from women who feel like they were bullied and intimidated and, you know, harassed and not treated with respect. So, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers better pay that money. And shoot, they lucky that it happened now, because at the height of the Me Too, you know what I'm saying, that fine might have multiplied by 10. Green War on Graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report. So the Boy Scouts of America, some of y'all might be Boy Scouts looking at me now. So y'all might know what I'm talking about or might not have experienced it, but a lot of people have. So the Boy Scouts of America actually reached a $850 million settlement for
sexual harassment and child abuse on 84,000 former Boy Scouts. So that's going to be about, a little over 10 racks per former Boy Scout. But this is with claims that sexual abuse by the people that ran the Boy Scouts against the kids was like an unspoken norm since the organization actually started, and since the 1960s is when they're saying this was an unspoken norm. So, fucked up situation for the kids that actually went to those places, because, as a child, you innocent. You know what I'm saying? And should remain so. Boy Scouts, they should teach you about life and how to survive, but damn, sexual abuse though, what part of the game is that? Greenwall and Graduation.